What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Hawks Film Room podcast, hosted by yours truly, David Lee, aka Daily43. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share the podcast, add it on any platforms you may be on. Recently launched a Substack. I think I'm coming up with a good idea to reward all the people who are chosen to support me with a paid subscription. I'm thinking about doing some game reports, some in-depth play logging, in-depth articles every week as well. So definitely tap in for that, and then I'll keep some things free as well, just so people can get on, a taste of some of the stuff that I'll be doing long form on there. I do have an affiliate link with the Hawks now. It has some kinks right now, so don't click it just yet, but it is in the description for when it will be ready. Tough loss for the Hawks tonight when you have three starters against the defending champions. It's going to be a little rough, and the Hawks played a really valiant first half. We'll go over that. So what the offense looked like, what the defense looked like, what happened in the third quarter, why it got away from the Hawks, why this is a better loss than it was against Toronto, why these Hawks are still not. Well, I can understand why some people who may have gone to the games in person may feel like, oh, these are the same old Hawks going to be able to play in. I think I saw some things that make me feel better about that, and that not necessarily being the outcome. But without further ado, I want to bring in my guy, Jace Hoops, to talk from the Oklahoma City Thunder's perspective, because, I mean, they're a juggernaut. They are almost inevitable. But, yeah, how you doing today, man?
How we doing? Appreciate it being on.
Of course, bro. So like the first thing that really jumps out to me at halftime, and look, I should have known to not say this at this point, but I was like, the Thunder defense hasn't been super scary to that point. Like, of course, this is
Yeah.
the greatest turnover forcing team of all time. They won a turnover battle at a historic margin last year. I don't think you guys committed more turnovers than your opponent forced. Maybe once or twice throughout the regular season last year. Like generational at taking care of the ball and also forcing turnovers. At halftime, the Hawks half court offensive rating was about like a 109, and that would have been the ninth worst half court offense allowed by the Thunder last year. And so the Hawks were executing really well in the half court, but once again they got killed in transition. You guys added 9 points per 100 possessions in transition. The Hawks subtracted 6 per 100 possessions, so that's a 15-ish point swing in terms of per possession scoring. But the Hawks still wrapped up, and they also did pretty well against OKC in the half court. OKC was at 0.8 points per possession in the half court. The Hawks are at about 1. For reference, 0.96 is about league average in half court offense. So to have an above average half court offensive performance against a Thunder team when you're down 3 starters, I think that speaks to some of the things that this roster has done to be a little bit more resilient without those guys. But they got killed in transition yet again, and I'm sure that Jace can speak to it. But like that's a pretty common occurrence in people who play against the Thunder.
Yeah. Just to go back to the first half, I just felt like Trey did a great job because OKC kind of sends two on kind of some of the ball screens, and he did a good job kind of just getting through the two guys and then getting to the middle and kind of just they got a lot of threes in that first half. I think they were like 8 for 18 or something in the first
Yeah.
half. So and then they generated free throws. So the first half they were just because OKC really likes to like over rotate and stuff. So they did a good job of kind of just paying from gambling and yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Do you ever feel like there's a team, like, is there a, like, aside from what Trey was doing in the spread pick and roll, like, is there a team or a concept that you think best attacks like that heavy gap help? Because I feel like that's, of course, what you guys like, kind of like the trademark of this defense. But is there a team or a particular player, or a particular like scheme or action that you feel like attacks that pretty well?
Yeah, it kind of just reminded me a lot of the Pacers. Kind of just
Mm,
Hallie, him drawing two, getting in the middle of the floor. First half they were playing pretty fast. I don't know if it was transition, but Trey was getting it down the court. Just I was talking to someone. It's throughout the entire league, man. I think the whole league is playing really fast. I saw before today the league was averaging I think 119 points, like
hmm
the league average compared to it was
It's
like
ridiculous.
114 last year. So I think teams are just playing faster, and we saw it tonight. Like as I said, it didn't show up through transition, but Trey was just getting it out. They're getting threes. It reminded me a lot of the Pacers in the finals.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and hop into the film then. I want to start with Chet, his opening sequences on offense. So just like the Hawks, the OKC's coming off a back to back, right? You guys played yeah, you guys wait,
Pacers.
who did you guys play? The Pacers, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So by the way, I went back and watched that game, and Chet didn't have the best game.
No,
but
yeah, for sure.
he was very effective tonight, and it looked like to me at least like there was a heavy intention from Mark and the Thunder to get him involved early. He was heavily involved in screening actions. He was popping without any hesitancy. Um, and we'll look through some of these clips before I ask you, like particularly, like what do you think was anything was different about the way the Hawks played him versus the way the Indiana played him? But he was pretty much bottled up pretty effectively against Indiana. But he was able to get pretty much whatever he wanted. This was nasty, and I think that there
Yeah.
was like when I was looking at you guys during the season previews, it was more so like, can Chet get back to what he looked like before the hip injury? Because
Mhm.
those who weren't watching OKC like really intently in the beginning of the season, what he was doing to start this season versus what he looked like in the playoffs, even like he was very limited. But I thought that you kind of got a taste of when you've seen this in the first, I say like two of the first three games because he was really good against Houston as well. But what he looks like when he's almost fully realized offensively, like this was a really nice alley oop pass out of a face up scenario. Like I don't recall a lot of times where you guys were the first option was Chet, but that seemed like it was very
Yeah.
intentional from the beginning. I don't know if it was a back to back if they were trying to save Shai, but your thoughts in general, like how Chet looked like to begin the first half. What the if the Hawks did anything different, or why do you think he was so much more effective against Atlanta?
Yeah, I just thought as you said, the hesitancy. Like you could look back to the first shot of the game. He knew because you saw the Pacers game. He pump faked on 2 shots and then continued to
Yeah,
shoot it after. So that just
hmm
messes up your flow. And you could see from the very first shot, he knew to pull it immediately. And
yeah,
I thought they contested pretty well. Gay and Akongu, I thought like they had a hand in his face and he pulled it right away. No thoughts. And then
hmm
yeah, to kind of go back to the other play, the one with the alley oop, um, I think it was a lot on Shea. I know this clip doesn't show it just because of how the clipping works, but Chet was kind of on the perimeter and Shea told him go post up, and I think that just says a lot about Shea and kind of like
hmm
just growing as a leader and kind of just telling them you got a matchup, go to your block, like get yours. You got a smaller guy on you because before Shea
yeah.
probably wouldn't have recognized that or gone to an ISO, but kind of just getting his guys touches and getting Chet his reps and yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great shot. I think in general, we'll talk about what Shea did to start the third because I think what he did to start the third pretty much sealed the game. But there's it's kind of bittersweet for me when I look at this from the Hawks perspective because this is what the Hawks envision with KP. But
Yeah.
we're already down three starters 3 games in. So
Mhm.
like the ability to defer to someone like Chet is what the Hawks have been looking for with someone like KP. And this is I think it takes time to your point, like the double big wasn't always super conducive. It didn't really look clean in playoffs at any
No,
point
not
either.
at
Like
all, yeah.
there was the combinations with just Chet or just Hardenstein were better than when they were both on the floor. But I think it's plays like these where the again to your point, the way the clipping works, they were able to manufacture this mismatch. This doesn't just happen in
Mhm.
the half court. But there was a screening action, and then now you've got a small onto Chet, and then you bring two. Like it's very simple, methodical basketball. But I think that the one thing that OKC does really well is like the ghost screens, manufacturing mismatches. Um, but I want to kind of jump into what the Hawks offense looked like. So they put Chet on a t-shirt twice, which made
Yeah.
me happy.
That those
But
are they were
yeah,
nasty. They were nasty.
this this is big time. They need Onyeka to be aggressive, and this is just spread pick and roll, right? Like it's technically a 4 out 1 in alignment, right? So
Yep.
you got two players in the corner, and then you've got Mo Gay lurking in the dunker, and so this is kind of like a theory that I've been sort of been thinking about with since Rick Carlisle came out with the podcast. I talked about it on the last one too, but like because in general, like Chet wouldn't respect Mo as a shooter behind the 3 point line. Does it really matter that he's in the dunker? I don't really think so. But it just gives another option for Onyeka off this. But so this is to your point, they like to put two on the ball. So here comes Isaiah Hartenstein is sort of like a show
Mhm.
slash like a weaker hedge, and you just get Onyeka the ball in a runway, and he's able
Good
to
pocket
explode. And
pass, yeah.
yeah, the Hawks they featured a lot of pick and roll here. This was a crazy pass. It looked like from my angle in the arena, like I was sitting with the point like I could see the pass bend in real time.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Against spread pick and roll, same thing. You have both corners filled, and you're trying to
I
draw
heard
Chet away
showing,
from the
yeah.
rim. Yeah, and then same show, and you bend it around and make Shea have to defend it as a low man. Like there's obviously like Shake is capable of still impacting shots there, but you'd rather him be there, of course, than someone like a Caruso or Hartenstein. This came out of an Iverson cut, so I asked Quinn Snyder about this, but they've been using Luke Kennard as like a secondary creator and not a movement shooter. Like you don't like an Iverson cut. You have two guys here at the nail, and then you have someone come curl around this way, but it's usually like to set up an isolation possession or get to a mid range. They're not really using Luke as like a movement guy. They're using him more so as like someone to create for others, which I think is kind of I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think it's also just reflective that like they don't really have a lot of guys to create for others. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want I want Luke to get more threes up, but he's kind of has had to have been relied upon as like to create more for other
A lot
guys.
of
But
ball stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I think this is a good clip too that shows how quick Ace is off the floor.
He was
Just
great.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, he was huge. I don't know how much you like. What were your thoughts about him pre-draft? Like, I know the people who watch this show, people who follow me on Twitter, they know that I wasn't the highest on him. But you know, if he shoots it the way he did tonight, then of course he's going to be an NBA player. But I don't know if you had any pre-draft thoughts about him.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't do that much pre-draft this year.
Yeah.
I just saw kind of the basic clips and stuff, but his
Hmm.
shot looked great. A big athletic body. Yeah, the shot, the mechanics looked really clean. They didn't 100% respect his shot, but
Hmm.
if you start drilling them, like they got to at some point.
Yeah, and I think he took a lot in preseason, which was a good sign. Um, but even like outside of the organized stuff, I thought the Hawks offense was pretty clean. You know, that was like wasn't out of any particular set, but they're still able to generate a pretty decent shot. This one came out of I want to say it was pick and roll. I don't have the exact alignment here, but like Veet was pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
He's able to get to the free throw line there. Like they need their best shooters to actually shoot the ball. It's been a kind of a thing with the Hawks. So um, this play they're running a similar thing. They're going to curl Luke off this action. It's weird though. Like I don't know how many 40% shooters are like not curling to the 3-point line. Like he's always curling into the lane,
Yeah,
which
it's interesting.
you know it's harder for him to shoot there, of course. And then but I like the general movement. They were doing a good job making the ball, making OKC rotate. Like it's pretty much your only chance. Like you can't play against OKC set defense. This team isn't good enough to isolate. But another example is just like how Luke can still be like. I think there's a lot of Hawks fans who are frustrated with him because he's not shooting the ball, and I think that's valid. Like he's 43% from three. He needs to get.
Yeah.
He's only taken not. He's taken 9 threes in 3
Oh wow.
games. Like that's just not enough. But you see here, like he just can quickly understand where the advantage is, draw Hardenstein, and then get it to Onyeka, and it's an open three, and he's able to drill it. So it's like I thought the offense was humming, man, and then you get into the third quarter, and OKC kind of turned the stats back on. But again, here's another spread pick and roll. You got both corners filled. If they're not gonna bring two, then typically what teams will do is help off this either strong side corner or the weak side corner, and uh, of course, like that's not exactly. I want to say it's a win for the defense, but you'd much rather have that than like an open layup. So uh,
Yeah,
OKC is going to give those up.
I've kind of been back and forth with kind of like as crazy as it sounds, as good as a defense they've been. I've kind of been like back and forth between their
Hmm.
give the corners like wide open threes, kind of over help, back line, kind of tags over. It's all right. I mean, get like as you see here, the ball is extremely pressured, so it's kind of forcing him
Yeah,
to get the ball out where a hand can get on the pass, which we kind of saw in the second half. But it it's a they kind of do live or die by the three, and we saw in the Pacers series, and
yeah.
yeah,
It's interesting because like I think against maybe a team like the Pacers, if it's Siakam, then I can understand like setting fives to the ball. You know what I mean? Like you've got three
yeah,
Thunder guys within 2 feet of Trey, but respectfully, it's Trey Young. Like I think that Kason and Ajayi Mitchell or Shea, like any of those two could impact his shot.
mhm.
Maybe you don't have to collapse as like strongly as they do here, but I still think that
That's a good
I think
relocation.
the yeah, this is huge for the Hawks. Like this was not possible. And I think like it's fair to criticize the player for like not wanting to play off the ball, but you kind of have to have guys being able to drive and um this is important. Like it's not just Trey who's moving off the ball too, but like if you watch Dyson here, he's gonna as soon as Gabe drives, he's driving into the dunker spot, and that's where Lou Dort goes.
And
So like
now
if
rotating up too.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So if Dyson stays static, then this three isn't open, and the more off-ball stuff they can get for Trey, the better. I think generally, like I'm curious on how you feel about this because I know you've expressed some skepticism about the defensive scheme, but I feel like Mark has a really good feel for when to call timeouts. Like
Yeah.
Any hint of momentum, he's calling a timeout. It's like I
And
it, go ahead, yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, it's just they call that a lot of the
Mhm.
times they're not the one calling it on like defense because they're usually the one up, so so it's not a lot of response. So they kind of have the chance to do it
Right.
when they need to. Yeah.
I think what's the other thing I wanted to ask you about is like experimentation because I do think that Mark has for years played a ton of five-man combos, a ton of deep lineups, ton of deep bench guys. And I think part of it is because, and I think Niall brought this up in the chat, but he was like, maybe it's just that Shea, J Dub, and Chet are that good. Like you can punt for 1 to 2 minutes just to see if a lineup works, even though it may not work at all. Because you can just say Shea, check in, let's get that momentum back and rolling. But I think that the Hawks fans are a bit frustrated with Quinn Snyder because he keeps playing lineups with Keenan Wallace, Vic Krejci, and Luke Kennard, which is like they have no chance on defense and it
Yeah.
isn't looking good on offense either. But some of that is dictated by injuries. I mean, you have three starters down. You only have one wing on the roster anyway, so you're gonna have to. There's gonna be 3 guard lineups somewhere, and those lineups weren't why they lost. Like they were a -2 in like the 5-6 minutes those lineups played. But as someone who's seen experimentation from their coach, I don't think the Hawks are in the position to experiment to the same extent. You know what I mean? Like
But yeah, that's the
we don't have
biggest
the
thing.
players to
Yeah.
say, we can bleed for 2 to 3 minutes to see if this works because we don't have the guys to check in and say, hey, let's just get it back. But from a general process perspective, like how beneficial do you think experimentation is? And like, is that something that other teams should be doing? I'm not saying that Quinn Snyder is doing that, but I do think it's something where it's like, if he wasn't experimenting, would Jalen Williams be the somewhat rotation level guy is, or
Yeah,
you know what I'm
that's
saying? Like,
yeah, it's a good point because you even go back. I think both the Rockets opening night and the Pacers are playing 11 man. They're playing 11
yep,
guys deep in the first
in the
quarter.
first quarter, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I think some of it's a little bit overdone, but at the same time, like they're throwing in Brooks. I don't want to mess up his last name, but the second
Barnheiser.
rounder guy, he's playing him at the end of like the first and
Mm,
third. It's a lot of like a lot of guys they drafted kind of within the same system, right? Defensive minded, so he's not he's not like bleeding value on that end, and then on the other end, the offensive end, he's playing with Shai, so it's like all he's got to do is really sit corner and kind of just swing the rock. He's a good connector, so he'll keep the ball moving. But in terms of other guys, like AJ Mitchell, for example, he's been great this first couple games, and he was the one that was being experimented, not being experimented with, but you get what I mean, like the first
right.
last season, like he was playing at the end of quarters and stuff, and then just slowly ramp up. And I think it's a lot to do with their drafting. Um, they draft well, so kind of guys they pick are like willing or good enough to kind of go in. And end of the day, when you play alongside guys like Shea, he's gonna carry the offense so much that whatever they're doing is like it's gonna have a high floor, if you get what I mean.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I think that's the hidden value there. Like, you can kind of just. I think people have come around to it, but like, you could just put anyone out there with Shea, and it doesn't really
And
matter.
yeah, and they're you saw they're putting out young blood like as a
Yeah,
shooter. It's very situational. Like they only put guys out there when they need them. If they want a shooter for 2 minutes to kind of get them going and give them more shots in a real situation, not high leverage, but
right.
meaningful minutes within the game. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it matters. I just don't know, like to what we were saying, like if this team is
it's
good
definitely
enough to just.
situational depending on teams and
Mm,
it'll be interesting to see, like, with the Hawks and stuff, like, who you said they're throwing out, like, Vit and,
and like Luke,
Wallace.
like this is actually the lineup right here. Like
Yeah,
you got Luke, Keaton, and Krejci. And the worst part isn't even the half court stuff because like the half court offense wasn't amazing. It's the transition stuff because when they get to running, none of these guys can keep up with anyone on the floor. And here's Chris Youngblood, but like no one can like they can't do
yeah,
anything in motion. But and the other thing is like they're not boxing out well. Like I think I want to say Aaron Wiggins had like 4 offensive rebounds or something crazy like
Yeah, I
that.
know Case had a few, but kinda just to go back, as I kinda seen the lineup, like, as I said
Mhm.
before, it's really situational, like, who do you want running ball handler here, right? Like,
Yeah.
who are you get like, what do you want to gain out of these minutes is kinda what I'm trying to say. Like, do you
Mm.
wanna gain Dyson ball handler minutes? Like, that's what thing with the Chris Youngblood, he knows his role, he's gonna be a shooter, blindside. You know he's gonna be,
Yeah.
like, a little bit on ball defensively, kinda sit in corner. You don't wanna experiment so much where you're getting Luke Kennard ball handler reps for 3 minutes, like
Yeah. And that's the problem too. It's like they're not even putting the ball in Dyson's hands in these minutes.
yeah.
It's Keaton Wallace and Luke Kennard. And like Luke can create offense for others. That's fine. But I just don't think that they're like if the the goal can't be to win the minutes because that's not
Yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But at least use it in a way that, to your point, it works for
Need a
developmentally.
goal,
But
yeah.
yeah, I think the guard. So the big thing about OKC to me, of course, like you guys have the length and the athleticism to make up for a lack of like traditional size, but also the way the guards rebound is really important. I think like this is like the type of I was sitting next to some retired Hawks players and they were losing their mind with when like stuff with this was happening, and it's just I mean you just can't let stuff like this happen. It's all about, especially now that there's 3 Hawks around him and he still gets to put back, like it's embarrassing. It's like a lack of attention to detail. It's not finding a man. Mitchell was able to do it multiple times as well, and it's the thing like Luke Kennard isn't able to keep it with him in space. He's not able to keep him off the glass. And then if they're not going to be an elite offensive unit with those guys on the floor, then they are going to get killed defensively. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
like especially if Luke's going to be on the floor. So I don't know. It's somewhat of a frustrating thing, but I think that this clip probably was mistagged. But yeah, he had 4 offensive rebounds, which is
That's
crazy.
crazy.
And then Mitchell had 2, including one that like I
Yeah,
just
the one
remember
where he
thinking
snuck
about
it
it.
up, yeah.
Yeah. I just remember like I kind of like just it jumped off the just well, I mean the proverbial screen because I was in person, but like how big of an impact these guys are, because it's also like I think it's less so for Wiggins, but Mitchell for particularly like especially with J Dub out, like his ability to like get to his own spots and operate the off
Mhm.
and run the offense is huge. And then he's also giving you this stuff off the ball where he's crashing the glass and he's making smart passes, and
Yeah, he's
I
been
don't know,
amazing.
it's
I can't
yeah.
say enough about him these first 3 games. He could fit anywhere. He could be put on
Mhm.
ball. He could run PNR reps. He could play off of Shai's advantages, crash offensive boards, spot up for 3. He hit 2 catch and shoot threes today. It he's been amazing.
Yeah. And I think it's the constant movement from both of these guys that leads to these offensive rebound opportunities, because his matchup was supposed to be Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard gets blown past. Now Nick has to step in, and now all of a sudden, you've got him free.
Scrambling, yeah.
So I thought that was huge as well. And then we mentioned like the kind of like the big tandem, but I mean Isaiah Hardenstein, all his points came on the weak side, like after the Hawks sent like another person to the ball. And I think this is just the fact that they don't have size, right? They don't, especially with you got Jalen out, you got Reese and you got KP out.
Yeah, that
There's
was
just not
that
much they
was a
can do.
big thing, yeah. Probably not that big of a worry just because those guys are out, but at the same time, like, the size did kill him on offensive rebounds and, the second chance points, I think it was let me look at it. I have it pulled up right here. Um,
Mhm.
30 to 9 was second chance points.
Yo,
And
yeah, that's way worse than
and
I even realized.
and the offensive rebounds were exactly the same, so it was really just capitalizing on them.
Ah, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like the Hawks are getting in transition, but they're not capitalizing to the same extent. They're getting these
Yeah.
offensive rebounds, but they're not capitalizing to the same extent. And to me, that's like an indicator, not just of size, but like they got to figure out how this team wants to play. Like this on this particular instance, when the corner isn't empty and you have a big rolling, like this has to be a tag from
Yeah,
V.
you gotta tag over.
And
Especially
he
when
just doesn't
Dort
tag.
wasn't been shooting that
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, like I mean, even I think this is AJ Bishop right here, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Like I wouldn't mind V tagging from the strong side. Just
Yeah. Because you
step in a little bit.
force him to skip it, yeah.
Yeah, you got to make this come over this way. You can't allow this to go over the top because you have no one on the backside, and it's just like you can't win the minutes if you're going to be doing stuff like this. And unfortunately, that's just happened a lot. Again, like as soon as iHeart gets beyond that first level of front court defense, like this is just overreaction, Mitchell. But this is the smart decision making that's going to get him a ton of minutes, I think, for this team. I
Yeah,
think
it's a
he's really
very
impressive.
Trey-esque pass.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge like fan of him pre-draft. I didn't watch much of him, but I've been trying to figure out like if there's a consistent theme between the guys Presley drafts because I feel like sometimes he takes guys and I'm like I don't really see the vision and it ends up
Yeah,
working out. Then
it's
sometimes he still, it's not always consistent, but
yeah, it's very weird. I think most of the time it's a lot of defensive minded, but then you look at last year, it was Topic.
mhm.
So it's really interesting.
And then here
Like,
too, like yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say even AJ, who has shown plus
Hmm.
defensively through the first 2 years.
Hmm.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
So when that same thing, first line of defense gets broken down, Gay has to challenge the shot to make sure you don't leave it. And then, there's no one to box out Isaiah Hartenstein. And that's because at some point there was some sort of switch that gets Onyeka away from the ball. So, like, they're not able to rally to the rebound because they don't have like, Dyson Daniels is like a really awesome guard rebounder. Like, I have multiple things in my notes where he was able to save possessions and close out possessions and high point rebounds. But if he's not available and he's not around the basket, like, no one else at that guard
yeah.
position is helping out on the glass. And it's
And
somewhat problematic.
I was just gonna ask, do you think I've only watched a little bit. Do you think he's better on ball or off ball? Because him being tasked with Shai half the
Mm,
time, because I think Na was on him the other half. Do you think
mm,
like that was a better move to task him to put him on ball, or
mm. I think that's a good point. I think the problem is like I don't think anyone can stick Shea, to be honest. And
so that yeah? Do you, like would you just take that not take that loss, but just put it on him and then kind of have him do what he does best, get his hand in the passing lanes,
mm,
kind of roam?
mm. I think the difference or the difficulty with Shea is that he doesn't turn the ball over, and he's
Yeah,
not going to
yeah,
throw cross court passes anyway.
yeah,
So like, do you even have a chance to help off of him, or like play a passing lane? I don't know. It's an
yeah.
interesting question.
Cause like a lot of the times they'll have like Shea on one slot and then Dort on another.
Yeah.
And if you put like Dyson on there, kind of very Caruso-esque, like sit him nail and kind of just
Hmm.
force him a specific
Mm.
way. Just a
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah. No. It's a good thought, and I think that's something that they probably should have looked into a little bit. I didn't consider that, but um, I think that the default is to like put your best defender on the best offensive player, but is that what's the best use of that defensive
Yeah.
player's skill set? I think it's an interesting question because especially when you have all these different types of screening actions, like here, um, they're able to play the passing lanes because it's not Shea who's driving, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're able to pick it off, and I think this ends up turning into a turnover anyways. Like Chet made a couple plays like this. Like this one wasn't as loud as the other one he did, where he
Yeah. They
broke up
had
the
the other
lob, but
lob with
yeah.
Trey and I forgot who it was. But there was like two lob passes that I think Trey tried to
Mm.
make that were both turnovers.
And I think the Hawks had 9 turnovers in the third. Um, here, they put 2 on the ball, but instead of this 2 being iHeart and Dort, now it's iHeart and Shea. They're both going to muck up the passing lanes. It's tougher to make that pass. This has to be you pick up dribble, pivot, bounce pass it, but like
Yeah,
it's
something
going to
that's
be
not
tough.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's not even like it's hard to even pull that off. So like I think his best chances here is maybe to try and beat Shea around around to this spot right here, and then try
Drag
to
him
get a
out.
better
Yeah.
angle. You got to drag him out and then bounce it here, but then now you're running into so this is the
It's
puncher when
yeah,
playing his defense, man.
interesting.
And then I think, oh wow, okay, well, it fried my
Something
plays,
that I
but
kinda noticed in the first half that kinda kept the Hawks behind a little bit. They were missing free throws. I think they missed
mhm,
5, 6 free throws in the first half.
mhm. When we played the Magic yesterday, the free throws were terrible, man. It
Really?
was bad. But it was honestly more so for the Magic than it was us at first. And his thing too, like I think I can't recall like a team that gets steals so often after a turnover. Like the transition defense for the Thunder is ridiculous. Like this should be an advantage for the Hawks way. Like they're basically 4-on-3 at this point. Then they advance it now it's 3-on-2, and Chet is already going. Like he sees it happen. He sees it happening the same
Yeah.
way Trey sees it happening. Like this isn't just a, like he's breaking on Mo before the ball's out of Trey's hands. He sees what's, maybe this is. I don't know if it's a bad decision. Maybe do you think maybe you should have went bounce pass here? I don't know. I feel like when you can't float it in the air with Chet lurking.
It's probably a little bit too early. He made the pass. What was it, behind 3-point arc?
Mhm.
Like maybe try and
Yeah.
get a foot, another step or two inside. Force Chet to make a decision because he's running over before he even made the pass. Like he saw it.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Good point for sure. So, especially when you go from an advantage being generated from a steal and then you end up turning the ball over, it's kind of devastating. And I think this is an example of just the defensive IQ from this team. Like they're playing Dyson as a passer. He's been a little tentative. He hasn't exactly found his role in this new offense with all these other guys
Yeah.
around. So like Hardside doesn't even try to stick him. Like he doesn't have the offensive gravity or respect, and then he just play the passing lane. And now Thunder going the other way.
What do
And
you see Dyson like offensively, like his role with his skill set and stuff? Because I'm not that
mhm,
100% familiar with his offense.
yeah, I think it has to be um, like can he give me a little like 2021 Bruce Brown with the Nets? Can he give me some short roll
Okay.
stuff? Can he? But then also, can you give me some driving out of closeouts? I think that's going to be important.
Yeah.
He's shown some ability, like even against Orlando, like he's able to get 2 feet in the paint, driving from standstill, from handoffs. His driving has gotten better. Last year, like his driving points per possession was like 0.69, which is pretty garbage. But
Yeah.
the handle looks tighter this year. The big thing, and I've lamented this point, but I don't know what it is with Australian guards, but I mean, too with Giddy, they love the floater. They love the
Yeah,
floater,
I
and
I was talking to that with Keenan, who you had on last year.
yeah,
He has said it probably every month I've talked to him. He's like, these Australians and their floaters. Someone who was new that drafted this year that loved him. Was it? Oh, I don't
um,
know.
was he Australian too?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. You
I'm
keep going. I'm gonna look it up, but
yeah, I'm blanking, but yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's a program thing. Like I think they're taught to do so, and it's not always a bad thing because it gives them an option on the short roll. Where I think it becomes problematic is when that's your default option because you're not
yeah.
putting rim pressure, and especially Dyson 6'8". I just need him to turn one of those floaters into getting to the rim, and yeah. So I want to talk about Shai's poise because I feel like with the Hawks closed the half pretty strong. But then it wasn't very long before the Hawks were in foul trouble. I think the Hawks had 5 fouls with like 8 minutes to go in the third quarter, and by that point it was sort of over. Um, just because of course the pressure that Shea puts on the defense, but I think when you're playing him when he has the whistle as well, like unstoppable. They challenged this one, which I don't think was a smart idea because Trey got under him a little bit and encroached on the landing space. That ended up being upheld. And I feel like the poise between Shea, like I can understand why fans would look at this and be like, okay, this is cheap, but like
Yeah.
I think it's more so like what happens after the contact. Like anytime when Shea knows he can get a foul on you, if you put your arm on him, he's gonna get the foul. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
And I don't,
his
yeah,
contact as well.
I don't see. I think it's funny that people and I understand like fans are fans, and so
Yeah, it's an
you're gonna
entertainment
champion
thing.
but you're gonna champion the guy who's your guy. You know what I mean? Like I don't see much difference between Shea and Trey in terms of how they get fouls. I think that people may
Yeah.
have a problem with the push offs, whatever it may be, but like the ability to slow down the game, get to the free throw line, and disrupt the other team's offensive rhythm cannot be understated. It's a big
While
reason why this
getting the
team
other
has been
guys
so
in
good.
foul trouble.
Yeah. And getting other guys in foul trouble. Like there's a reason why foul drawing is a superstar thing, and there's a reason why Shea's a superstar. And like he came out in the third quarter with like, I'm gonna get these guys in the foul trouble. Whether you agree with the way he did it or not doesn't really matter to me. It's more so the fact that he was able to do it and it completely disrupted the Hawks. Like I'm hearing groans in the arena every time he goes to the free throw line. I'm like, look, this is what happens, man. Like
They
he knows what
kinda,
he yeah.
they kinda I'm not gonna say patch Trey, but he had the little, like, put the guy behind him and
Yeah.
kinda hit the brakes. Like, what were your thoughts about that? Because he had that for what, his first
Mhm.
4, 5 years, right?
Yeah.
With the Chris
He was
Paul?
Yeah, it was like the Chris Paul thing. He put him in jail.
Yeah.
He was able to get Desmond Bane with that last night's game, and one free floater. So he gets it from time to time, but like they definitely directly targeted him for that. And I think that the problem is like he isn't able to always like bump a guy off the spot. And so if
Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
consistently bump guys off the spot, then you have to resort to like the less ethical grifting. But
Yeah, and you kinda see that with a lot of
yeah.
Dame and
Mhm.
a little bit of Brunson too, but hey, it's you get to the line, you get to the line. That's kinda how I look at it. Like, it doesn't really matter how it comes by.
Yeah, you're not gonna hear me complain about that. I think the two biggest things to me, obviously, like I think that what Hawks fans want to hear is that this team is gonna be like marginally better or massively better than they were last year. But if you and I don't know how much you saw of like the Toronto game, but in Toronto, like obviously another big team, they play heavy gap defense, they get on and run. They killed us. They killed us from like the second quarter on. But what the Hawks were able to do in the half court against the gap defense, what they were able to do without their three starters, what they were able to do up until 8 minutes into the third quarter, I think was an encouraging enough sample size for me to say, okay, they can generate offense against a really good defense, which is good, especially in different ways. Like they're running different alignments, they're playing through the bigs, they're playing through Trey, and then you can
Yeah.
only imagine what it looks like when you have KP and all these other
Yeah.
guys. But I think people just don't. I think people know how good the Thunder are, but it's just like this is a very tortured fan base. If you spend all offseason talking about how different this team is, and then they lose back to back home games in this fashion, getting blown out, people are going to start panicking. But it's game three, so I
Yeah,
don't think it's time to do that.
how much longer do you think those guys are out for? Is it just a one night thing or
Yeah, so I don't know if you saw, but KP has POTS, and like
yeah, that's
it can
yeah.
flare up from time to time. So I'm not sure if that's what that was. I didn't expect him to play back to back anyway, so I don't know. Hopefully he'll feel better. And then I didn't see what happened to Jalen's ankle, but he hurt it against the Magic, and then Zach hurt his ankle in the opener. So I don't think the ankles were too bad. Zach was able to play a little bit on it. Jalen was able to play on his. So hopefully it's like a grade one or so. Like Quinn Snyder refused to talk about it. He wouldn't tell us what it's like. Uh, but yeah, man, I think the games like these are like good measuring sticks. Like I've lamented this point as well, but like I want to see how they look against physical teams. They couldn't come out and look like if they came out the way they looked like they did against Toronto, they would have lost by 30. And I think the fact it was competitive at halftime again,
Yeah.
down starters, you have to take the wins when you can, man. Like against a team like OKC, like I'm just curious, where do you think? Because I didn't feel like they would push for like 70 wins, but do you think that's something that like they would even value or like would chase?
I was pretty I would say on the OKC fan base, I was on the pretty pessimistic side. I don't want to say
Yeah,
pessimistic. I was still aiming for high 50s, but I just think there's gonna be a target on their back. Even like tonight, the Hawks came out first half, like they're playing, they're running, they're getting their threes up, and they're gonna have a target on their back. I think they're gonna just probably rest some of their guys on back to backs. I don't
yeah,
think 70 is really gonna be a target. I think they're going to do a lot of experimenting. I think they want to play a lot of AJ. I think they're gonna want to play. We'll see Topic when he comes back. Play a lot of maybe Wiggins ball handler minutes. I think they just want to experiment a lot of things because the offense kind of struggled in the playoffs. So I think they want to try a lot of things. I don't think they'll value 70 wins that much. I think they just want to keep getting better. Some people say 70 wins. Even now, you see guys that are out. J-Dub was out. Caruso's
yeah,
out. The guys are dealing with injuries. Kaysen was out last game. Um, Chet was questionable. But yeah, I think they'll be aiming for high 50s. I think they'll be a better team than last year, despite maybe having less wins. They'll be more
mm,
seasoned. I think Shai's processing is gonna be a little bit better. Guys like AJ, Chet are gonna become a bit better offensive players. So yeah, I think it'll be a little bit less, but the experimenting as we were kind of talking about earlier, it'll be worth it because these regular season games aren't going to be as like valuable as compared to like
yeah,
another team.
for sure. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time. Make sure you follow Jace, man, at Jace Hoops on Twitter, right?
Yeah,
Is it
appreciate you
that's
coming
what it
on,
is?
man. Appreciate you inviting me. It was dope.
Of course, of course. Hope you all enjoy. His information will be in the description as well as mine. And see you on the next one. Damn, where's the end recording? Okay,